All right. Well, welcome back to Post Frame 360. One of your hosts, Scott Cragg, along with
Josh Nowlin.
Josh Nowlin.
I'm gonna have to come up with something better than that, Scott.
I
I don't
no,
know.
no, that's your shtick, man. They know you as Josh Nowlin.
That's
Hey,
right.
and for those of you watching us on YouTube, we have another guest. And you know what? It was time to ditch all of the guys in the room. It was time for Lisa Ryan to join us. Lisa, welcome to Post Frame 360. We are excited to have you here. And as you guys know, leading up to the National Frame Builders Association, we told you we were going to have some guest speakers that are going to be presenting there. And Lisa Ryan is one of those great guests, and I'm excited about what she's going to share with us today. So, Josh, I'm going to turn it over to you, kind of let you introduce Lisa a little bit more, and then Lisa, it's all yours from there.
All
Yeah,
right.
I would love just to go right into it, and we'll talk a little bit later about what time and where
Yeah.
her session will be. But yeah, Lisa, it's great to have you, and looking forward to learning a little bit more about you and your session at the NFBA show. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Lisa Ryan?
Well, I am actually Chief Appreciation Strategist at Grategy, which is a marvelous combination of the words gratitude and strategy
Love
mushed
it.
together in one beautiful word I own.
Yeah.
And that really is the function of all of the keynotes and workshop sessions and consulting that I do is how do we create a culture where employees feel connected to the organization? Do they
Mm,
feel recognized? Do they feel heard? Especially in a market where it's so hard to find people to begin with, that
mhm.
once you find them, how do you make sure they don't ghost you at lunch, after 6 hours on the job or, 2 days on the job? So, the thing that I like about the programs is that they're super actionable. I'm not coming in with 52 steps to put together your strategic plan, blah, blah, blah. What are you gonna be able to do when you go back to the work site on Monday and start, little by little, interaction by interaction to change the conversation and change the culture?
Mm, that's so good. I went and looked at your website a little bit, and I clipped a little piece off because to me, it was just like, I love this. There was a part that said inspiring teams, strengthening culture, and driving results.
Mhm.
And I love how you just introduced yourself there because I think for a lot of companies, we focus on the last part first, driving results.
Right.
And we start working backwards. I got to drive results. I got to hit budget. I got to do this. Culture is ancillary to that. And well, I pay you, so you should just do this anyway, right? There's not a lot of inspiration there. The culture sometimes falls to the wayside because we just get so focused on the results.
Yeah. I see that all the time, and I still see it. It's one of those things that if you want the results, it starts with treating the employees well,
Mm,
because if they feel that you value them and their contributions, the chances are that they are going to excel at what they do. They're going to give their all. Now, here's the
mhm,
problem. A lot of times we know that there's going to be employees who are going to jack us. Okay.
mhm,
I
mhm,
mean, no matter what you do, no matter how nice you are, there's probably a small percentage, 3 to 5% of your employees who are
mhm.
gonna work the system,
Yep.
they're going to completely slack off, all of that kind of stuff when you're not around, and unfortunately, we treat the 95 to 97% of our employees who are good, honest, hardworking like the 3 to 5% who are gonna jack us. And if
Mm,
we can flip those numbers and just err on the side of knowing that our employees, they're there to go do a good job. Nobody shows up on the job site that says, "I'm gonna really suck today."
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I I have a so what are your thoughts on and you're right, we all have those 3 to 5%, right, that show up and just punch the time clock. They're just there to get a paycheck until it's not there anymore.
Mhm.
What would you say about hiring right, or what are some insights you might be able to share as to the importance of making a hiring decision, a more educated decision up front.
Right. Well, and it's one thing that I say in my programs all the time is to hire more slowly and
Mm,
fire more quickly. Now, let me preface that by saying nobody likes to fire anybody. Okay.
right.
I
Right.
mean, because you're not only getting rid of that employee, you may be literally removing food from the mouths of their children. So it's not just impacting one person, but we want to make sure that we're getting the right people on the bus. And we can do that in a lot of ways. With AI these days, I mean, I can go on. I actually coached one of my friends. We put the job that she was interviewing for into ChatGPT with all the responsibilities. And for 2 hours, I said, I put into chat, come up with all the questions that, that this company may ask her. And I went over it for about 2 hours. And now I was a recruiter in my previous life, so I
Mhm.
wasn't just giving her the chat answers. But the reason I bring that up is, interviewing, if you're just going with the knowledge, tell me about your background. Tell me your greatest strengths and weaknesses. Holy guacamole, chat can give you an answer that would make you look like a rock star. But on the other hand, if you say, tell me about a situation where it didn't go well. What did
Mhm.
you do? If I were to ask your last boss to describe your biggest strengths and weaknesses, what would they say about you? Some of these different answers where you're getting the person to think, you're kind of catching them, you're making sure that the answers that they're giving you are real and you're paying attention. If
Mhm.
you ask every time that, well, why did you leave your last job? Well, my boss was just terrible. You know what? No matter who that person reports to in your organization, the boss is going to be terrible.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Yeah.
listen. So there's signs and clues. Actually, I just did a 6-hour program on hiring and recruiting for a company the other day, and we were looking at red flags as far as job hopping and inflating the numbers and not having any numbers, whatever it is. But there's things that even using AI, we can take the resumes, the skill levels of our best people who are most successful in our company, which is
Mhm.
going to look different from our competitor's company, and say, what are the traits that, these are the people that are rocking it out for us. What are the traits that I'm looking for?
Mhm.
So, we can use the tools, but we want to get with that person too. The other thing that works out really well is to have that candidate to spend some time with your employees without you around in the interview
Mhm.
process. Because what's going to happen is that employee is either going to come back and say, oh man, I would love to work with that person. Or they might come back and say, if you hire that person, I'm out of here. Because
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
candidate is going to share some things, or they'll let their guard down a little bit. So when we can get our employees involved in the interview process, it really does not guarantee us, but it contributes to more successful outcomes.
Mm. That's I love that. It made me think of a couple of things. One is like relational intelligence and situational awareness.
Hmm.
I know, and a lot of us, we've experienced a lot of what you've talked about, right? Like we've all had bad managers, bad bosses, a bad coworker. Um, it can kind of be a little bit like a cancer in your organization. And yeah, and I've been like, I've had to terminate. I hate it. It's,
Right.
oh man, it just like, you know, um, but if you don't, it will affect your whole organization, right? If it's a bad apple, then it'll affect your whole organization. But you don't just want to go into that saying, well, so and so over here is they push too hard, or so and so over here, they complain a lot. That's why you got to have some relational intelligence and situational awareness. What is really going on? Because one of the worst things in my mind that you can do is fire the wrong person and retain the wrong person,
Right.
right? Because of your motivation and something you said about valuing the employee. I'd love to ask you that question in your mind. So think about our listeners. A lot of our listeners are going to be, they're contractors. They own their company. They are either employing a crew or they're subbing that out. So like they're just, paying someone else to do the building. So what would that look like for them to think about valuing their employees? Because I know on the construction site, not to say that our people are uncaring, but on a construction site, it's here's the project, here's the day you start, you got this many hours and this many days to finish it, and then you're on to your next one, right? So if that question makes sense, how would you encourage our listeners to value their people?
Right. There seems to be this thought process that a lot of people in construction, well, they're just here for the money. All I got to do is throw a couple more dollars an hour at them and they'll stay. And it doesn't really matter because, I got to get the project done, whatever. As long as there's a body there and they can do some hammering, it's fine.
Mhm.
If you look at it, it can just be little things, on a hot day, supplying some Gatorade, you know,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
do you need? Having conversations with your people. A lot of things that I talk about is the stay interview,
Mm,
and obviously because you're not in an office, you're not going to be making the time to sit down and do this, but just asking questions, finding out a little bit about your employees. How are you best motivated? Are you
mhm,
best that if I give you a task, give you some feedback, you want me to check in with you later on? Do you need a little bit more encouragement? Getting to know your people,
mhm.
what's the best part of your day?
Right.
What's the part of your day that you least like? What other jobs on the site would you maybe interested in trying out? If we
Mhm,
look at the younger generations coming in, they are wired differently from the tsunami of gray-haired people that we still have on the job sites, where they want to know that they're making a difference. The nice thing in construction is you have the immediate gratification of being able to say, I built or I helped build that,
mhm,
which is
mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we also wanna be able to take the time to listen to some of these newer people coming in. They may not have the exact experience you need, but they see the world differently. They have access to technology that may help you with your paperwork or, getting your jobs quoted more effectively or whatever it is that we're just listening to people instead of saying, you're the new guy, you get to do all the grunt work until
Mhm.
you pay your dues." Oh, for the love of God, stop saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lisa, we're already almost to the halfway point. We
Holy
are
cow.
about to the halfway point already of our podcast. So I do want to mention to our listeners that you are on at the NFBA in the educational track, third floor, Thursday morning, 8 o'clock. Lisa Ryan, she's part of the business management track, and you're the title of your session. I wrote it down here: the loyalty crisis, why good workers leave.
Mhm.
Mm,
And so I definitely would like for you to, take some time here to talk to our listeners about why they should choose, because the same time your session is going on, there'll be one over here in the safety and technical track. There'll be one over here in the sales and marketing track. Why should they choose to come into your session?
Well, first of all, thank God you didn't say there was an AI track because everybody would be over there.
right. Right.
Well, you know what? It's so funny because everybody knows that workforce is the number one problem. It's always been the number one thing. How do we find people and how do we keep them? But yet you have a program on it that's gonna give you the exact tools, actionable takeaways that you can use immediately, and then there's like an AI, AI, AI. Ooh, let's
Mm.
go chase some new shiny stuff that we can go back to the plant, or to the work site on Monday and bring back one more. Ooh, we got this idea. Oh, no,
Mhm.
let's just not listen to anything that Joe says for the next 2 weeks until things go back to normal.
Right.
So safety always, all especially on the job site. I mean, that's huge. So if you're bringing more than one of your crew to NFBA, you know what? Then look at, because all three are great topics. So maybe if you have three people, you all go to different ones and then you meet up afterwards and share best ideas. Because like I said, this is going to be the human connection. I don't think I'm going to bring in anything that's going to be like, oh my God, I've never heard that before. But it's going to be more reminders of, you know what? I do need to, here are some ways that I can invest in my employees, and I can take advantage of who I have working with me, because, my people know stuff. So maybe if I gave them the opportunity to, work with and train their coworkers, now as I teach, I'm learning more, but it's a low cost or no cost way to build connection in the organization. How are we recognizing our people? We're going to talk about things like milestone anniversaries, starting at 1 year instead of 3 or 5, for example. Um, but the all about me sheet. How do you personalize that attention? And we'll also spend some time on that bigger picture, like how are we communicating that it's not just the job and the benefits and the hours. It's like, this is why we do what we do. It's the conversation that you all are having in the hallways at NFBA of, oh my God, this job was awesome. The things that just, bring you great joy, that we're having those conversations instead of just, here's the benefits, here's here's the hours, whatever. So we'll go through my 6 gears of Grategy. And, I'll challenge you to pick the one that's going to make the most difference, because, frankly, your culture didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to change overnight. But if you can walk out of there with one idea, then yeah, I would love to see you in my session, because we are going to have some fun.
I love that. And so, Josh, I know you heard that too. I think she called us both out as gray hairs.
She did, but that's okay. That's okay.
But you aren't the only ones who are going to be in that room there.
I realize how much
You both have
old
hair too.
Hey,
So
in our
that's
last
awesome.
podcast, Scott, we talked about how it would be really good to have somebody you trusted tell you, right? Tell you how it is. And she just did that. And we have to accept it, right?
That's true. That's true. I will embrace the gray is what I'll do. Lisa, I love that you talked about the loyalty crisis, and I'm 48. I've worked for a lot of different companies. I've done a lot of different things, and you're right. Like, you are spot on. And I think about the position I have here. The position I have at Burroughs is not one that I expected. In fact, it's actually something I said I do not want to do. I do not want to be our front office customer service manager. No. Well, guess what I'm doing? That, right? And I love what you're saying here, because you are so spot on. And I can tell you this from just my own experience, right? One of the previous career I had before coming to Burroughs, and this is just what you get, guys. You know that by now. I'm going to be blunt, transparent, and vulnerable. Who cares? I was already really frustrated and kind of stressed in that environment, because I was part of, yes, I have a lot of skills, and yes, I was very, very successful in that role, but it was never enough. Oh, you blew your goal out of the water. Do it again, but do more. And it, like, you just start to feel used.
Right.
And then there was a situation where a leader was brought in and made the statement, not to me directly, but to the group. If you're someone who's satisfied making $150,000, I don't want you on my team. Because unless you're making 200 and want more than that, then you're never going to get anywhere, and you're not going to help us hit our goal. And to be honest with you, that was the last straw. Like, for me, I made that decision. I'm out, because I was only as good as what I could produce. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. The things that I brought, the value that I brought, my experience didn't matter. All that mattered was hit the number, right? And for sales organizations, and I've been in sales pretty much all my life, it's brutal. It's brutal enough just being in sales. It's even more brutal when you've got someone always pushing on you, hit the number, hit the number, hit the number. Now, obviously, if we don't hit the numbers, we don't have jobs. So it's a
Right.
symbiotic relationship, right? And Josh, we've talked about this. There's this theme that's emerging. Lisa, we've had a couple of previous podcasts. Another guest speaker was on here. And so there's been like this theme over the past, I don't know, month and a half of treating people,
Yep.
not like pawns in your game that you're
Right.
playing. Like people are people. And I think for me personally, something you said, you've got younger people coming in. They bring so much value. Now, maybe they don't have the experience. Maybe they don't have the work ethic. Maybe they are in front of their screens all the time. But
Right.
guess what? You can either look down on them or you can see the value in what they have to offer and put yourself in a position to mentor. But here's the other thing, guys. You're going to have to swallow your pride
Mhm.
because you may have been doing this for a long time. But if you look down on these people and you don't stop to mentor them up, here's where I'm blunt, then you're part of the problem.
Yep.
You're part of the loyalty crisis because you're just using people to achieve your own outcomes. But, for me, I would rather invest in people and believe that I'm going to hit my goals, offer structure, offer stability, offer encouragement.
Right.
Most importantly, authenticity,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Yeah.
so I'm going to shut up now, but Lisa, you kind of got me on a roll there because you're speaking my language, but it's something that's also pretty fresh to me because I have been through something where I was loyal and that loyalty just kind of got wadded up and
Mm.
chunked.
God, stories like that
Mhm.
continue to make me so sad
Hmm.
because it really is taking the time to celebrate. I mean, I've been in sales my whole career, and now the product's me. But it's an honorable profession, and it's great when you get the close when you close the deal.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I want a manager who's going to celebrate with me instead and give me a couple days to live that high
Yeah.
until I gotta come down and look at my numbers for next quarter. But the
Hmm.
funny thing too that came to mind, I had, one of my clients was talking about she was working with a farm co-op, and they brought in a vendor to do promote a training on one of their products, and
Hmm.
they had a couple of the interns, and the interns were on their phone the entire time, and she's getting madder and madder about this.
Right.
And they're on the phone, and finally, at the end, the rep leaves, and she goes up to him, she goes, you know what? I saw that you were on your phone the whole time. Can you tell me what was going on?" And he was like, "Oh my god, well, when he said this, I went to the internet, and did you know this?
Hmm.
And then what I did is I learned this." So it's like we make these judgments
Oh,
about how
yes.
people think and process where it's different now.
Hmm.
It's not rudeness. They're not, swiping left during your presentation or swiping right. I don't even know what the correct term is,
Right.
but you got my gist.
I did. Yeah.
But it's understanding that communication is different, and also that people are fact checking you. It's
Mhm.
like the things that we're doing, the things that we're promising, the things that we say that we can do. Especially in construction, you guys know that. I mean, we're watching HGTV and we're seeing a house go up in 3 hours. Well, why can't
Mhm.
you do that?
Right.
So the realistic expectations, letting people go through what a day in the life is so
Mm.
that they can experience that, they can see, is this a job for me? And
Yeah.
making those connections also, when you make the offer to somebody, it doesn't start your onboarding doesn't start the day they start. It starts 2 weeks before they start. When they are given
Mhm.
their notice to their other employer,
Yeah.
how are you staying connected with them? Are you sending them, swag? Are you sending them an email, maybe a picture with, an org chart with everybody's picture on it? This is the
Mhm.
crew you're going to be working with, whatever it is. Because
Mm.
if you're ghosting them by the time you make the offer and the day they show up, guess what? They're probably going to ghost you. And I'm
Right.
sure that there's not a single person that's watching this podcast right now that has not been ghosted by somebody who they were really excited about them starting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Man, that's such good insight. As we start to wrap this up, I, I I think about in my role is regardless of who I lead and how long I'm their leader, I don't want to be the guy that they ever tell a story about, like I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I don't. I would rather have great relationships with those that I am titled to lead,
Mm-hmm.
and for them to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm better in my career, maybe even as a person, because I interacted with Scott." I would much rather see people be better because of the short time that I've been in their path than not. And I'm not saying that to like prop myself up. It's just
No,
I don't
absolutely.
I don't like being treated a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And this is something else I would say. It's never be inauthentic, but it is never hard to make an authentic compliment to the people you lead. Don't ever miss an opportunity to say, "Hey, you're just crushing it. Like you're doing
Mm-hmm.
a great job." Now
Yeah.
don't make it up. Don't make it fake,
Right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
don't not tell your people they're doing a great job when they're doing a great job, you know? Take time to tell them, "Hey, you know what? I appreciate when we first started working together, you were you had some rough edges, but I appreciate how you have taken some of my, encouragement for you, and you've really grown, and I just want you to know I appreciate that." Do you
Yep.
know how far that goes? And let me tell you right now, everyone loves money, but those compliments that are sincere and authentic have a value that you cannot put a dollar on.
Absolutely.
I think you just landed the plane, Scott. What do you think, Lisa? Did he land the plane there or
We
what?
land mic drop.
Yeah, boom.
Oh, no, no, no. Well,
Well,
hey, yeah,
yes,
Josh, close
I was
us
just
out.
gonna say,
Lisa,
Lisa, thank you so much
yeah.
for being
Oh,
on
you're
our
very welcome.
podcast, and you've brought so much value today to us and our listeners. And Scott, you go ahead and I'll do the finger thing. Put her podcast, information right here, and go see Lisa. Go see her at
Mhm.
the educational sessions. We've talked about the 8 a.m. on Thursday session. Okay. Um, the don't stay out till midnight the night before, right? That we've had that. We've already talked about this. We had another guest that had an 8 a.m. session. It wasn't the AI. That is actually after your session, so you don't have to worry about competing with AI. But yeah, come see Lisa. Business Track, 8 o'clock Thursday morning, and learn more about the loyalty crisis. And Lisa, I'll let you close this out. Any last words?
You know what? I post a lot on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. I'm the number one Lisa Ryan on LinkedIn, which is kind of funny because there's like 1,700 of us.
Wow.
But if your browser does not say Lisa Ryan and Grategy, you'll see my Cracking the Retention Code newsletter up there that you can subscribe to. I can go to my website, lisaryanspeaks.com, and there's lots of stuff there too. But yeah, I'd really love to meet you in person and look forward to seeing you at NFBA.
Yep,
Fantastic.
NFBA, Oklahoma City. We're ready for it, aren't we, Scott?
We are. We are. And Lisa, I'm going to make it a point to meet you in person. I love what you're
Mhm.
sharing. Guys, don't take this for granted. You may think, "Hey, I don't have time for this. I've just got to get the job done." No, I would challenge you. Your job is not building the building. The job is how you treat the people that build the building. It will pay dividends upon dividends investing in people. Lisa, thank you so much.
You're very
Josh,
welcome.
If you guys like what you're hearing, like and subscribe. Please share us with your friends and family. We appreciate it.
all right, guys. See you on the next episode of Post Frame 360.